The docking bay of Station Kepler 7 hummed with the usual chaos of a frontier outpost. Cargo haulers bellowed in 6 different languages, plasma torches hissed against metal, and somewhere in the distance, a fuel leak alarm bleated its monotonous warning. Engineer Tom Harker barely noticed any of it anymore. He crouched beneath the belly of a Draxian freighter, his hands deep in a tangle of coolant lines that looked like they'd been installed by someone with 3 extra limbs and no concept of linear thinking. Tom wiped grease from his forehead with the back of his hand, leaving a dark smear across his temple. Humans, a voice chittered above him. Always elbow-deep in entropy. Tom grinned without looking up. Entropy pays the bills, Kiv. The station's quartermaster, a mantis-like Veltorian, clicked its mandibles in what might have been amusement. It skittered away on 6 legs, leaving Tom alone with his repairs and his thoughts. That's when he heard it. A soft scraping sound, deliberate and cautious. Tom slid out from under the freighter and turned his head. There, peeking from behind a stack of cargo crates, was a pair of enormous golden eyes set in a small furred face. The creature was no bigger than a terrier, with sleek black fur that rippled like oil over lean muscle. Its ears were tall and tufted, and its muzzle was short but lined with promising young fangs. A Carvashi cub. Probably no more than a few months old. Tom had seen adult Carvashi before, apex predators from a high-gravity death world, all claws and teeth and coiled aggression. The galaxy gave them a wide berth. But this little one? It looked more curious than dangerous. "Hey there, little guy," Tom said softly, staying low. The cub's ears flicked forward. It took one hesitant step, then another, drawn by the gentle tone of the human's voice. Tom noticed the cub's ribs showing slightly through its fur. Hungry, then. And alone. He reached into his toolkit and pulled out his lunch, a protein bar, and a vacuum-sealed pouch of rehydrated stew. Not exactly gourmet, but it was food. Tom tore open the pouch and set it on the deck plating a few feet away. The cub hesitated only a moment before darting forward and burying its muzzle in the stew. It ate with the desperate intensity of someone who hadn't seen a meal in days. Tom watched quietly. When the cub finished, it sat back on its haunches and stared at him with those impossibly large eyes. Then, without warning, it padded over and bumped its head against Tom's knee. "Well," Tom said, scratching behind one tufted ear, "I guess you're mine now." The cub followed him everywhere after that. Tom named him Wreck, a shortening of Wreck, which seemed appropriate given the cub's tendency to knock over tools, chew through power cables, and somehow get tangled in cargo netting at least twice a day. The other station residents didn't know what to make of it. Carvashi were not pets. They were killers, the kind of species that made hardened mercenaries check their six. But here was Tom Harker, whistling while he worked, a predator cub napping in the toolbox beside him. "You're insane," muttered Vess, a Toran dock worker with 4 arms and a permanent scowl. "That thing will tear your throat out when it grows up." Tom just shrugged. "Maybe. But right now, he's just a kid who needs a place to crash." Rek, for his part, seemed content. He slept in Tom's quarters, curled up on a pile of old flight jackets. He followed Tom to the mess hall where the human would sneak him scraps of meat under the table. He even started helping with repairs, which mostly meant pouncing on loose bolts and dragging them away like trophies. But there was one thing that puzzled the cub: rent. Tom had tried to explain it one evening after Rek had shredded yet another pair of Tom's work boots. "Look, buddy," Tom said, holding up the mangled boot. "You live here, you gotta contribute. That's how it works. Rent. You bring me something useful and we're square." Rek tilted his head, golden eyes wide and uncomprehending. Tom sighed and tossed the boot into the corner. "Never mind. Just try not to eat my stuff, okay?" The next morning, Tom woke to find something on his doorstep. It was a bone. A big one. Probably from some unlucky maintenance drone Rek had dismantled in the night. It was covered in bite marks and streaked with hydraulic fluid. Tom stared at it. Then he looked at Rek, who sat beside the bone with his tail curled neatly around his paws, looking immensely proud of himself. "This," Tom began, then stopped. He rubbed his face. "This is rent?" Rek chirped. a high, happy sound, and bumped his head against Tom's shin. Tom couldn't help it. He laughed. It started as a chuckle and grew into a full-bellied laugh that echoed through the corridor. He picked up the bone and examined it like it was a priceless artifact. "All right, kid," Rent accepted. Word spread quickly. Within a week, half the station knew about the human engineer and his cub. They came by to see Rek, to marvel at the impossibility of it. A Carvashi living peacefully with a human, playing fetch, sleeping in a pile of jackets. Some were skeptical. "It's instinct," they said. "When he's grown, he'll remember what he is." But others weren't so sure. They'd seen the way Rek looked, at Tom, not with the cold calculation of a predator, but with something warmer. Trust. Maybe even love. Tom didn't worry about it. He just kept fixing ships, kept feeding Rek, kept finding strange rent payments on his doorstep. Bones, mostly, but also a cracked datapad, a shiny piece of hull plating, and once, inexplicably, someone's left boot. "He's learning," Tom told Vess one day. "Learning what?" the Tauran asked. Tom scratched Rek's ears as the cub dozed beside him. "That kindness doesn't need a reason. You just do it." Vess grunted but said nothing. Even he couldn't argue with that. And so it went. The human and the cub. One teaching the other what it meant to belong, to trust, to care. On a cold station at the edge of known space, where survival was hard and warmth was rare, they built something simple and profound. They built a home, and every morning without fail Rek brought his rent.